I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha Kodash, double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, Wa Abba Babal. All right, so on this prepper channel of Patrick Humphrey, all right, I'm going to use this information for teaching, for edifying, for notifying information through the Copyright Act of 107 section, all right, giving me the right to criticize information for the ability to use this copyright information for educational purposes and also informative. All right, so he's going to tell you that they're intending, all right, to warn the people before they do themselves, all right, use fentanyl, which I don't doubt they're already doing it, through different sources like aerosol mist, all right, and this ain't nothing new, all right, they show you in this movie, all right, One Battle After Another, which it's free on, not free, but you can watch it on Netflix, and I recommend you watch it. It's all about how the agent activity happens. All right, you got triple. You know how you got double agent, you got triple agents out here. All right, you got agents falling in love with agents that they didn't even know were agents, having little baby agents. All right, and you got Sean Penn and Leonardo DiCaprio, and in this movie, this guy Sean Penn, all right, he gets pegged, showing that this pegging activity, recently you had that false camp leader, Sakari, the leader being Alazar. It came out he liked to get pegged by sassy so-called black women, right? And this is happening in this movie with these agents, with Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Penn, because they fall in love with this woman, which is also an agent, and she's playing them both. And they, it's so heavy that there's so many agents out there that you don't even realize it, that you're really walking in the midst of wolves. All right, and these wolves are into homosexuality. That's that's what they're into, and it makes sense, because they show another transformer that he's a sellout too. So they're showing you in this movie that these agents of Babylon the Great, all right, are majority sodomites, all right, whether it's in their education system, the prison system, the military, all right, they push sodomy, all right, and that's agent activity, to be a sodomite and like to get paid, all right. And he was arguing that it wasn't, sodomy, it was natural or some shit in the movie. You know what I'm saying? It was it's there's some weird parts in it, but in the main point of the movie, the edifying part of it, it shows you the agent activity and how deep it goes, and it's very thick out here. All right, the deceit. So in this video of Patrick Humphrey, he's gonna show you that they just put out a warning. They just put out a warning to beware of fentanyl being laced all over the place, in your water, in your food, in your air. All right, which really, if that was to happen, which I don't doubt, it's already happening. All right, it would be from your own government. All right, because the government of Babylon the Great, aka America, all right, they push out propaganda to show you that they're doing exactly this, because in that movie I just showed you, they show you using a aerosol gas in that movie, the elite, because they show you a form of the elite that control the military, and that they're they're paying for a war against Jake, so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indians, which been scattered throughout the world. In that movie, they're showing you that they're uh, um, going to war, a race war against Jake. And that's why they have all these agents. They got agents that stir up trouble so that these other agents that are coming straight up as agents could enforce these draconian laws, which they want to murder us. They want to put us in prison, put us under the prison. Why? Because, we're telling the truth and they're trying to move in lies, right? They're trying to deceive the world into accepting an implantable microchip, the mark of the beast. And we're telling you about Yahweh Shai returning, and that if you accept that as an Israelite, you're going to be destroyed in the lake of fire, being that you're in America. All right, but there's judgment going throughout the whole earth. A lot of men are going to be gathered into their military, whether it's through draft or that they need a check, so they willfully join. But they're going to go and be sent over, with a chip in their body, because the society is going digital. And the military, when you go to the military, they literally take away your rights. You belong, which really we don't have no rights, but, you even have less freedom in these military systems. All right, in the industry of war, all right, you don't have rights, right? We just saw an example of that, of these retired soldiers that spoke out against the military, right? And they were, even said they should be put to death by King Babylon, the king of Babylon. All right, so really, when you go into these militaries, you're not going to have no rights. They're going to put a chip in your ass, and they're going to send you over into these wars to die, So let me go ahead and go to the front.
This is big breaking news. President Trump just shared a major warning that we could see aerosolized agents released in the United States by bad actors that could potentially wipe out millions of people. That is the...
Which, once again, check out that movie. All right, one battle after another, and they show you who's the bad actors. All right, it's the agents of Babylon. All right, so that the other agents that are openly showing themselves as agents could come down with that draconian law.
Warning that he just shared right now. Let's get into all the details here. You guys can see this is his Truth Social. He just posted this today, December 26th. I hope you guys had a great Christmas. But let's get into this. It says, the ex-War Department official warns that terrorists may one day aerosolize fentanyl and praises Trump move. All right, you can see he shared this article.
But see, the only one that's really doing the T activity is Babylon the Great. It says in Revelation 13 that they call down fire from heaven, being the missiles. The only ones we see really doing that is the so-called white race, right? Africa didn't bomb America, right? Venezuela didn't bomb America. So it says in Revelation 13 and 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb. This is America, and the horns represent the Democrat and the Republican. And like a lamb, they act like they're philanthropists, but really they're murderous. All right. It says, and he spake as a dragon. That's their murder. They speak through draconian law. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, which they're in the image of Rome, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. So they're moving like ancient Rome, whose deadly wound was healed, and it was healed by America coming into existence and acting in the spirit of Rome. And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. All right, and that's what the so-called white man does today. All right, they're the ones dropping bombs on people. So when they drop fentanyl, all right, it's going to be the so-called white man that does it. All right, where are they getting the fentanyl from? All right, who, even that C19 ragamuffin, all right, which everybody ran to go get the venom of the serpent put in their arm. All right, it came out that who was controlling these laboratories where these filthy creatures exercise their wickedness. You know, it was the so-called white race. And what countries? All right, you had little Satan and big Satan. All right, America and in the small hats that are the counterfeits in our land. All right, they're the ones that are controlling the world. They're the ones that are producing these things through their wicked activities. This is why the Lord has raised up prophets, and we're here to tell the truth, which condemns the wicked and all them that do wickedly, which the whole world is in a wicked state, including the Israelite. So we're the first fruits of the nation of Israel, waking up to the truth, which the truth comes through Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, which he is the way to eternal life. All right. It says in verse 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, right, which they have left-handed witchcraft to deceive the world. The world is in gross darkness. A king of Babylon, it came out that he's literally tearing babies to pieces out here on lakes, on public lakes, and throwing it into the water, drinking water at that, of the American people. He's showing videos of himself shitting on the people. All right, and it don't matter. These people, they don't even get upset. The whole world is in gross darkness. This devil's been dropping bombs since he came into the office. Nero, right, king of Babylon, and he's been dropping bombs since he came into office. All right, and who knows how many? Only the Lord knows how many people have perished, you know, just from this man dropping bombs on the earth. But you can look it up. They tell you that the spiritual Egypt, all right, that we're in, they dropped the most bombs out of the whole world. Should you hear them talking about giving weapons to the small hats, and the small hats building weapons and giving them to the Edomites over here in Babylon the Great? All right. It says, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. The beast represents the European Union, NATO, their allies. All right. Which the allies of America are the ones that are going to actually betray America with the UN, and they're going to join the BRIC nations according to prophecy, and they're going to burn this place with fire, nuclear fire. It says, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, you know, do as they do, as they say in Rome, and in Rome do as the Romans do. That's what Esau's doing over here in Babylon the Great, which had the wound by a sword, which the Roman Empire, the ancient pagan Roman Empire, was destroyed, meaning it fell, not completely, you know, destroyed, but it fell. All right, but what took its place is the creation of America. It says, and did live, and he had, excuse me, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, which this is what we're living in, is this beast coming alive, the beast system, where you're going to need the mark of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And this is the time we're in. They're going to say that you need a implantable microchip because they're going to make it mandatory. And if you don't accept it, they're going to want to put you to death. All right. And this is why everyone's going digital. That's why you hear Nero saying that they're going to be, pushing America into the head of the race of the countries of the world, pushing digital IDs and digital currency, which will be on a implantable microchip. All right, which they're trying to condemn the Israelite. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark. That means the cutting of your flesh, to implant a implantable microchip in their right hand or in their foreheads. Remember, Trump's right hand man, right? Elon Musk and Neuralink. The Dr. Oz, right? He's all about the MOTB. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. See, and they're going to use it in propaganda as a benefit, right? Say they do the T act of using fentanyl in an aerosol form, and you got people all scared, and you see mass people dying, right? And they tell you you won't die if you take this device. See, how much more when you see mass groups of people just all of a sudden dying at a mall, and they say, "Oh, it's a virus." You see, you're gonna run to them to accept that implantable microchip. See, and that's what they use. They use chaos to bring forth their new world order, which their order is that the whole world be microchipped. It says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark. So they're going to make laws that you can't, operate in their beast system, the image of the beast, without the mark of the beast, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name, which will be in that implantable microchip. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. All right, which it's talking about the wicked elite of the so-called white race. And his number is 606, 66, Chi Xi stigma, which goes into the prophecy of the cutting of your flesh with the syringe to cut out a trench to implant a microchip. It also goes into the barcode system, right, which they have barcodes on everything, which in that barcode is 666. And that barcode system is also going to be implemented in that chip because they're going to be able to scan the chip and get a name and a number. All right, and it also goes back to the history, which the Greeks, the Romans, they used to tattoo and brand the slave, which the Americans did when slaves would act out. They would burn them, whether it was to mark them for property, showing that they're the property of that so-called white race, whoever owned them, or, if a slave ran away, they'd burn their face or tattoo their face, that they were rebellious. So this is the doings of the so-called white race, but it's really the Lord doing it, all right, and it's to prove his chosen. Because when they persecute us and begin to throw us out of our houses because we don't accept it, all right, then the Lord's chosen will be proven on earth who are his faithful and who are the unfaithful. It says in Revelation 14:9, and the third angel, which I'm going to tell you straight up, majority of people are not faithful, and I'm talking about the Israelite. Fuck the heathen. You're not supposed to believe them anyway. But amongst the Israelites, All right. It tells you in the scripture, trust no brother, for he'll supplant you. You're supposed to work out your own salvation. In fact, today I just read in Mark 14 about how Yahweh Shai was betrayed. All right. So this is part of this is the condition of the battle. It says in verse 9, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, talking about taking the device, all right, it don't matter if you have it in your foot, all right, your arm, your hand, your forehead, you accept that device, all right, it tells you, worship the beast. If any man worship the beast, you don't even have to take the chip, but in your mind, you're for the so-called white race continuing with their reign of terror. You're okay with them doing what they do, right? Which we see all this information coming out pertaining to the list, and there ain't no uproar of justice, right? That's because the wicked are ruling, and the world is in a wicked state. The people mourn. But when the righteous rule, the people rejoice, which the people are not rejoicing. It says, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. So if you accept that implantable microchip and you're deceived, all right, you're going to be in the lake of fire with the so-called white man, the red devil, for his kingdom is going to be destroyed by nuclear missiles. He's going to lose World War III, according to the prophecy, when Yahweh Shai returns. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone, which is caused by those nuclear missiles, in the presence of the holy angels. When Yahweh Shai returns, he's going to collect us by the angels, and we're going to be changed and be like Yahweh Shai and look down on this judgment taking place through the ozone layer. And in the presence of the Lamb, which Yahweh Shai is our Savior, Yahweh is going to send Yahweh Shai back to save us. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast and his image. Because when you take that device, all right, it's going to take away your peace. All right, it's going to pretty much seal you for a merciless judgment. It tells you in Revelation 16, the ones that accept it, they're going to break out in boils, gruesome boils, stinky, burning boils, because you've got a plague on you from putting that technology into your body. And whosoever receiveth the mark of his name, so if you worship the image of the beast by accepting the implantable microchip as the mark of the beast, right? You take it, or you would take it if you could take it, for America to continue and you to be able to operate in America's beast system. You're going to be destroyed with this wicked kingdom. All right. According to prophecy, you'll be in the lake of fire. Here is the patience of the saints. So as we wait, all right, all we are to do is wait. All right. You want to know who's doing these T attacks? It's the so-called white man. All right. He's always been the terrorist of the earth. In fact, if you go back to any of these T groups that they talk about, right? Who created them? Who funded them? Right? Who ruled them? But the so-called white man. All right? Everything, all right? Islam, I showed you many times. Who created Islam? What you know as modern Islam is the so-called white man. All right? There's this video, I'll have to look for it, but it's pertaining to the Vietnam War. And when you go into the video, it's the photographer, he did a documentary on being the photographer of another documentary. And he said he came to realize that America was the one creating the Viet Cong, because they go into a village, murder your people, rape your women, burn your house, spoil your goods, right? And the surviving children are men, and even the females, they'd have no other option but to join up with the Viet Cong and fight against the so-called white man's military. All right, so that's what's happening now. They're causing these attacks. If there is any retaliation, but the origination of all of this violence comes by the so-called white man, the red devil the Bible speaks of. So it says in verse 12, here is the patience of the saints. All we could do is wait. All right. I shared it before. You can look it up yourself. But, these mass shootings, any violent attacks, all right, it's always the so-called white man. It's never the so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American Indian. All right. You can look it up. The record belongs for violent attacks, right? Unexpected violent attacks is always done by the so-called white man. All right. It says, here are they that keep the commandments of Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, in the faith of Yahushai's return, right? Because he's coming back. Yahweh is going to send Yahushai back. And if you believe that, you're going to purify yourself by the washing by the word. All right. And that's if you have faith in Yahushai. And it starts with Yahweh through his son Yahushai. Yahushai, our access back to the Father is by Yahushai. All right. But Yahweh is greater than Yahushai. All right. But Yahushai is our mediator, our author of faith. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth, which they're going to persecute us and put some of us to death because we tell the truth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, which we're not afraid to die because we understand the truth. We were given victory over death by Yahweh's son, Yahushai. But he died and was resurrected by the Father. Yahweh raised Yahushai from the dead, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. So we won't lose nothing. In fact, in this time, death is gain, because you're going to be removed from this place of, earth, Avratazah, which the Lord's bringing great judgment upon the earth. And he's going to use trial and to prove, right, your faith, and tribulation is going to be upon them for punishment. That's why in 2nd Ezra 15, there's going to be a great tribulation when they make that implantable microchip mandatory, the pride of these heathen. The cities are going to be troubled, and they're going to go into each other's houses for the lack of bread. And for great tribulation, they're going to release soldiers. All right, watch that movie. One battle after another. All right, you're in a race war as it was prophesied in Matthew 24. These things are the beginning of sorrows. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Wa abba